It's Backstage Pass with Steve Ryan. And here's your host, Steve Ryan.
There we go. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, I'm excited to talk to you today. I appreciate you giving me a little bit of time. I got late last night, Kim sent me over the information on the tour that's coming up next year.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm very, very excited. Yeah.
Yeah, so it looks like you're kind of starting over in Georgia, and then you're circling your way, coming west a little bit, and then you end up back in New York. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, it'll be a long haul.
You know, I've been thinking about spending some time with your catalog and thinking about trying how to peg your music. And you've got this, it's obviously it's rock and roll, but it's got this funky vibe to it, And I had on, I don't know if you're familiar with Daniel Ash. He was in Bauhaus and Love and Rockets, and he's got a new project out. And just had him on just a couple of weeks ago. And you're kind of in that lane to me, but you've got this boogie, kind of this T-Rex, old school feel to you. I don't know if I'm pegging you right. Tell me about your musical influences.
I'm really influenced by everything, to be honest. I think the one thing that makes Des Rocs different than other rock artists is that I draw on so many different places with flagrant disregard for any genre or subgenre. Like if you listen to my first album, Real Good Person, A Real Bad Place, that's just the album I wanted to make at a very specific time, and it draws on a whole host of different influences than what I'm currently doing. But at the end of the day, to have it all feel like the same artist, that to me is the art of it, and that to me is like where the most exciting challenges lay.
Yeah. Speaking of that album, there's a song on there that I was listening to last night. It's called Ruby with the Sharpest Lies.
Mhm.
And that's got this groovy feel to it. But when I'm listening to it, it's like, man, this sounds like a Tim Burton film. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I also like I love cinematic music, and I've always been tremendously influenced by scores and film composers. So I'm always injecting that kind of larger than life sonic quality into a lot of my records.
3, 2, 1, Ruby's holding a gun, but you won't know it till you're dead on the ground. 4, 5, 6, Ruby, look what you did. There's no one left to say a prayer for you now. Good luck on healing your bridge and tunnel blues. Until then, here's a drink to our impending doom. Something like this.
When you're putting stuff together, do you think about it that way? Like not just your streams, but could this be used in a video game, in a movie, on a TV show? Do you think about that consciously, or it just happens?
No, I never think about where the records will end up. I'm only just thinking about pouring out whatever is the most honest spark in that moment, and stuff that is larger than life and very cinematic. That's like quintessentially who I am in my DNA. So that just kind of naturally oozes out of the records.
Yeah. The new song out called "This Land" is a groovy rocker, and it's in Borderlands 4, which is kind of why I had asked about that. And tell me about the new music that you're putting out now, because the juice is out now, and it's kind of reminds me of this of '80s rock in the best way. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, I think you also like hit the nail on the head by using the word groovy many times, because groove and the intangible qualities of what a rhythm section are doing, to me, is one of the most sorely absent focuses from rock music today.
Get my money right, who let me give me my money, give me my money. No, you can try to kick me down. You were gonna stop the flow. I got the juice. Lose. Who let the juice? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Who let the juice? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Come on, come on, come on. Who let the juice? Who let the
And everything is just so on the grid and so sterile. So I obsessively am always examining the groove of the songs. So songs like The Juice and This Land, you know, there is a certain pocket there, but they're different. But to have a record that really moves you on that like subconscious human groove level, the way a lot of rock records used to,
Yeah.
that's always super important to me. And you're gonna find a lot of that in all the new music coming out.
Yeah. I think there's a lane for that. I think, music kind of goes in cycles. And, you could go back much further than I am. And, I'm older. But, in the 70s, there's a lot of dance music coming out, and then kind of the rock and roll kind of came through that. And then in the 80s, kind of had the new wave and the dance music started coming out. And then, you had the Seattle sound and the grunge rock came through, just going through those cycles. And we've kind of been in this urban cycle lately. I think that the lane for what you're doing is so ripe, and I think people are ready to go back down that lane again.
Thank you. You know, and so much of that is just like I'm just gonna do me, and hopefully, like the times come around to me because I'm never gonna be. You know, you just mentioned so many different trends over so many different decades. Like I don't think I'll ever be a part of a trend. You know what I mean? I think so much of what I do is just keeping my head down and making music that is the most authentically me. And then when the world is ready, the world is ready.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, tell me about this guitar that you this custom guitar that you've made, and I just read about that. I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah, I spent a year developing this incredible custom guitar with a company based in the Czech Republic called Aviator Guitars. And we customize a lot of my guitars in a live setting. So I wanted to create something from scratch that really suited every need I had. And you know, so much my sound is very I don't want to say unique, but I think it's very specifically tailored to me. My guitars are very specifically tailored to me. So instead of buying a guitar and then modifying it the way we usually do, I wanted to build something from the start that captured everything I needed in a live setting. And we just happened to meet them while I was on tour in Europe, hit it off, and spent a year designing this guitar. And it's this incredible instrument that also incorporates the symbol of Des Rocs into it as well. You know, very much like an homage to big risk-taking guitar builds, the way like my idols like Prince used to.
Yeah. I'd read something that Brian May inspired that as well.
Oh yeah, I mean he built his own guitar, you know,
Yeah.
and I think that's another thing, like just taking those big swings on big pieces like that. When it comes to the instruments themselves, like that's something that I really love.
Yeah. Oh, you talk about great guitar players, Brian May and Prince. I mean, man, boy.
Yeah, they're my, you know, in my top three for sure.
Have you ever seen that? There's a YouTube video going on. I think it was might have been at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame when Prince is up with this super band. Tom Petty's in there and all this, and they're doing While My Guitar Gently Weeps. And Prince just does that solo. And man, he just walks out there. He does his thing. And then at the end, he throws his guitar up and he walks off stage. And I mean, Tom Petty and everybody's just like, whoa, Prince has left the building.
Yeah, and you never see the guitar come down. That's the best part.
Yeah, it's true. So somebody caught it.
Yeah.
Hey, can we go back a little bit? I was listening to the album "Let the Vultures In," and there's a song on there called "Used to the Darkness." And I went over to YouTube and I was watching the video, and I looked down, and it's like 17 million views, brother.
Wow, that's a lot.
That is a lot. That is a lot. But that was I wrote down it was 2018, and it's kind of this mid-tempo R&B groove to it. But I was listening to that, and then I was listening to the new stuff, and what you said earlier kind of made sense because you haven't strayed too far away from what you were doing, 10 years ago.
Now would you pray if I took tonight? Oh, come on, yeah, would you take my hand and take a look? I'm too damn young to give up on the light. I'll be through the darkness. I'll be through the darkness. Yeah, I'm just a man. I'm only flexible. Can't believe that on everything I love. And now there's no one else left to love. I'm used to the darkness. I'm used to the darkness. Why get used to the darkness too? Why get used to the darkness to you? Why get used to the darkness too?
Yeah, that's my very first EP, and that's kind of like the birth of Des Rocs. And I think the fundamentals of Des Rocs have always been the same, right? Like hyper emotional and honest songwriting. Really writing songs in a vacuum, not thinking about anything that's going on in the world, and really paying attention to the groove and the production and making something that's just singularly me. Like I want you to hear those records and be like, oh, that's a Des Rocs record, to identify it really fast. And yeah, I think, especially on this new album, there will be more songs that kind of harken back to that first EP for sure.
When does that come out?
We don't have an official release date yet that I could say, but it's
Okay.
gonna be early 2026.
Early 26.
Mm-hmm.
Very exciting.
Not too long.
Yeah. Going back to the Vultures EP, there's this bluesy rocker called Maybe that I just love that groove, man.
Oh, thank you. That one means a lot to me. And a lot of those records were also made in like the most DIY fashion you can imagine. Like they were made on a MacBook Air.
Really?
With a budget of $0, like literally $0. So it's really cool to 7 years later to have people even referencing any of those songs.
Yeah. Oh man, it's so great.
Oh, maybe, so drain my blood until there's nothing left. Maybe, won't repent. Live a lie, let the vultures in. Maybe, I'll make a mess of me.
Hey, what was it like being out with the Stones?
Oh, crazy. I mean, that was really like a once in a lifetime opportunity. And, we don't have legends like that going to be around much longer. So to catch them at any point in their career and be a part of it is just a tremendous honor.
Yeah. Yeah, I read that that you were out on the road with the Cult as well. Man, I love the Cult.
Yeah, Cult are amazing. Yeah, we did a bunch of shows with them.
Yeah. The Dream Machine. There's a song on there called "I Am the Lightning." Man, that's such a fun song. That song just rocks. Your catalog is pretty big, man. I mean, you can go back, but it's thick. You know what I mean?
I make a lot of music. I really do. I release a tremendous amount of music in a short period of time, and I work really fast when I'm on the hunt and I've got an idea. I'm neurotically chasing it until it's done. So I don't really and I write a lot. Like for every album I have like 2 other albums that I wrote at the same time, but I put away.
Yeah.
And that's just the album I decided to release at that time.
Can be the light, the heat, the star, the lead, the boogeyman, the fight you seek, the pain you need. I am the lightning. Go! Get out of your mind and let me go. Are you listening? Can you hear me? Hear me?
Yeah. There's a standout track on that called Never Ending Moment. And there's this, I was listening to it and it's pretty full. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, but there's this, and tell me if I'm right, but to me, what I'm hearing in different parts that I'm hearing this acoustic thing going on, just kind of filling in there. Man,
Mhm.
I love that.
Thank you. Yeah, there's a 12 string in there. There's a mandolin in there as well, and an acoustic guitar. So yeah, there's
Yeah.
a lot of acoustic textures in there that give it like an incredible percussive quality that I
Yeah.
really love.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah.
Forever together, through fire and rain, I'll wait for you. I'll never surrender when you ask me to. Eyes out from your garden, they take the lost in the space of 1,000 truths. A dark truth is rising, so I hold on to.
We talked about, your musical influences and the guitar, Prince and Brian May. But when you were a kid, and you were getting interested in music, who were you listening to?
A lot of AC/DC, a lot
Hmm.
of Queen, a lot of Led Zeppelin. And then also like when I was a kid, there was this whole big like tremendous emo scene in the late 2000s, like 2007 and 8. Like a tremendous emo scene in Long Island and Queens and the New York area. And I was very much steeped in that culture. Like it was just a very DIY culture of playing shows 3 times a week in somebody's backyard, basement, rec center, VFW hall, whatever club would allow you to be there. And that's like really how I got my start in that scene. But sonically, like I never fit into that scene at all. I was also tremendously influenced by Bruce Springsteen, and I wanted to kind of like make this rock and roll Disneyland experience in a place that was so scene driven. And that the sonics of that scene were so antithetical to the sounds that made me tick. So that was always like my struggle, was being this odd man out early on.
Yeah. Now I hear that. I hear that in your music. It makes sense. There's you did a song for a Nobody 2 soundtrack, a Johnny Cash remake of Ring of Fire. And man, you bring new life to that song.
Thanks, man. It's a daunting task to try and reimagine such a classic, and I'm really happy with how that one came out. It was tremendous fun to work on.
Yeah, I mean, you stay true to it enough to where if somebody's like, "Oh yeah, that's a Ring of Fire," but I mean, it's obvious it's you doing it as well. So I mean, that must be a tough balance. Do you have to consciously go into when you record that? It's like I want this to be have my stamp on it, but I am remaking a classic song that everybody knows, so I want to honor that as well.
Yeah, it's a really fine balancing act, trying to pay homage to something, but also completely make it your own.
Yeah,
So I wouldn't have done it if I didn't think I could totally Des Rockify it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So the end result very much feels like it could be a song on Dream Machine,
hmm
but isn't, and that's really cool. And also just shows you like how much variation there is in the production of a song. Like it's the same song, it's the same composition in many ways, but that's what I would have done with it versus what Johnny Cash did with it versus what Social Distortion did with the cover of theirs, which was equally really cool but very different.
yeah. There's in 2020, This Is Our Life LP, and I love that title song, man. That's such a great tune.
Thanks.
There's another tune on there though that it's kind of my go-to track that I looped it a few times. I don't, it might have been last night or the night before. I can't remember, but Nothing Personal.
Thank you.
I swear it's nothing personal. I swear it's nothing personal. I swear it's nothing personal. I wanna take you home. it's nothing personal. I swear that it is nothing personal. I see your collarbone and wanna lose control. I swear it's nothing personal. I swear that it is nothing personal. I wanna drain you of the morning. I wanna tear away the shadows brick by brick. I know you could've used a warning. You thought I kissed you just to borrow some lipstick. You'd be a stranger at a party. Reading left across the room on empty space. Where's the secret you keep guarding? Like a funeral bells on a hearse. I swear it's nothing personal. I swear it's nothing personal.
Are you gonna go back on this tour when you're playing live? Are you gonna go back to some of this older stuff?
They're all up for grabs. You know what I mean? Like very often, it's crazy how much power the people have over the set list. Like very often, a kid will run up to me before a show and say, "Hey, I drove 10 hours to come see you, and my favorite song is something personal." And you know, oh, I think I'm gonna play that one tonight.
Yeah.
And you can just kind of like move the set list around like that. I will be doing almost kind of like a tribute to a real good person in a real bad place and that EP on this upcoming tour, where the good thing about my catalog is that I don't have any like chart topping global smashes, right? So in a sense, I'm not beholden to any songs. Every single song is this equal paint amongst the palette that I can paint a show with. And that's creatively really exciting for me, that I'm not, oh, I gotta play these 3 or 4 hits, you know what I mean? And even my biggest songs, like you mentioned, biggest streaming wise, like Used to the Darkness, like there's songs I love, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there also isn't a single song in my catalog that I don't love personally. Some of them are a lot harder to play than others, live for many different reasons. But yeah, like I'm always mixing it up, and I'm definitely throwing in a bunch of older ones on this tour.
Yeah, I appreciate that because, sometimes when you go see somebody and if you hit the road and, it's your favorite band and you try to, hit 2 or 3 shows, if it's the exact same set list every night, I mean, I've had people say it's like, man, I went and saw them 3 times this year, and it was every song in exact same orders every time,
Yeah.
and it kind of loses a little bit of spark that way. And I think you're right. You don't have to hold something back for, say, the encore or whatever. Um, so I think that's great because it kind of, I think the audience, at least when I'm at a show, I can feel it's like, yeah, this seems like they're just calling it out. It's like not set.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of the same like groupings of songs. Like we call them like song units in our band, you know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, this flows perfectly into this, into this. And certain like really special moments that we like to create live. And then we kind of leave in these little spots that are like choose your own adventure each night. And often we do go to the same thing over and over again. Maybe that's just like a creature comfort element when you're on show
Mhm.
like 6 in a row of 40, and you're just like kind of wiped. A lot of bands will do the same set list because of production concerns. Like
Yeah.
they'll be locked into a certain light show
Hmm.
that is synced perfectly to their set. So they can't change it even if they wanted to, which is like a real big drawback of those kinds of shows.
Yeah.
So we're always trying to build in flexibility. Like I always talk about the show as like a railroad track, and that train is going 100 miles an hour, right? But at any time, I could stop the train and get off and go explore over here for a little bit. But then I'll hop right back on the train and we'll keep the show going. Every artist is going to have a different approach to like what their show means. A lot of artists, it's like, it's all about them. And then some
Yeah.
other artists, it's like whatever the fans want, And I think like I like a healthy balance of both. It's like, here's the menu I prepared on this price fixed menu. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but also that there's like a lot of feedback as far as energy is concerned. And especially on a tour, like you might prepare a whole set list, and then a couple nights in, you're like, this is not working for
Right.
whatever reason, and then have the ability to adjust it on the fly.
Yeah. Do you love that? Do you love being on the road, or is you love being on stage, but it's kind of a grind?
I love the 2 hours of the show. That is the 10 out of 10. The reason I was put on this earth is for those 2 hours on the stage. But the other 22 hours are brutal, to be away from friends and family and, health concerns too, because it's very hard to eat well. It's very hard to sleep well. So you kind of just go into survival mode where you're just like, you're looking for a place to brush your teeth most of the time or take a shower or
Yeah.
do laundry, and those are things that you think about a lot when you're on the road. and it can be tough, especially when you're like in a very comfortable position. You got like a nice apartment that you really like, and then you're just kind of out there and you're showering in gas stations and stuff, you know. So it takes a toll on you physically, and I've been doing it now for a while, like at a pretty DIY level, and it definitely can start to wear you down.
Are you staying in the States for this tour next year?
Oh, we're definitely going to be going international with this one for sure. Just not at this exact moment.
Nothing you wanna throw out there.
I can't say
Yeah.
yet, but Europe is like extremely Europe is extremely important to me for many
Yeah.
reasons. And we love going there, and we have some of the best shows ever there.
Yeah, I'll bet. Yeah. There's another song before I let you go, and I know I'm on the clock, but I saved it because I wanted to talk about Manic Memories.
Mhm.
And I looped that the other night. I must have listened to it 5 or 6 times.
I took myself hostage again. These dreams of balloons filled with lead. Sweet hallelujah, what a mess. Some of the messy me. Sleep paralysis of in. Feels like I'm drowning in a bed. Hellos became nuisance right when you said I'll always be tortured by your demons. Haunted with a secret. Fighting back the urge to scream. No, you don't care about me. No, you don't care about me. And we'll always try to hide these scars, never showing who we are. We are from the manic memories. If you're driven out of 10-ton heart.
And your stuff is so good. It's so
Thank you.
good. I really appreciate what you're doing.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
What people want to follow you and see the tour dates, and I've already posted the tour dates on my socials. So if people want to go and see, the whole American schedule that's coming up next year, it's already up on my stuff. But where do you want people to go and follow you? What's the best place?
You can just check out my Instagram. It's I am Des Rocs, DESROCS. There is no K in Rocks.
There you go. Brother, thank you so much for giving me some time this morning. I'm so excited to hear the all the new stuff that you're talking about coming out and then seeing you on the road. I'm really look forward to hopefully meeting you when you're over here in my hometown.
Thanks, Steve. Absolutely, man. I cannot wait for you to hear the new music. I think it's really gonna I think it's gonna just blow people away. It's the most powerful music I've ever made.
I'm so excited for it, brother. Take care. You have a great morning. Thanks for giving me some time. Let's do this again, okay?
Of course, absolutely, Steve. Take
All
care.
right, man.
Bye.
All right, I'll see you later.
For questions or comments, email Steve at steveryan.songoftheday@gmail.com.